Hello, Covenant Life Church. My name is Gordon, and I'm bringing you the daily video today. And I wanted to talk about the quarantine that we're all dealing with. Now, I'm sure you all know at this point, it's been a few weeks that we've all been stuck in our homes. And I do mean stuck. Now, if you don't know me, you may not know, but this is not as big of a deal to me. And I understand that I'm not necessarily normal, but I am more introverted. I am okay spending the day at home and not having anywhere to be or places to go. But like I said, I know that that is not normal. And I know that a lot of people are really not taking this quarantine well. We can't leave the house. Even going out to the grocery store may seem daunting for some of us because of the additional aspect of this virus going around. And it feels like we can't leave our houses. And that's really not good because our home is supposed to be a place of comfort and security. And now, thanks to this situation, it's really turned into the opposite. It's almost turned into a prison of sorts for some of us, some more than others. We can't leave, and while we're here, there's not necessarily that much to do. And it can be it can induce fear as well. And that's ignoring the additional situation of the cause of this quarantine, this virus, a lot of uncertainty. The news, every side of the aisle, the news will try and scare you, whether it's this quarantine and this virus or whatever else is going on in the world. A lot of places are trying to bring fear into our lives. And those two don't make a good combination, being imprisoned while also being fearful. But I think that's a very normal feeling that a lot of people have in this time. And so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to look at, biblically, similar situations. And I came across Acts chapter 16, which is the story of Paul and Silas being put into prison. So similarly, they find themselves imprisoned. And in the same way, they could feel it was very unfair. I'm sure a lot of us didn't see this quarantine coming. Definitely didn't 6 months ago. I don't think anybody knew what we were in for as a world 6 months ago. And in the same way, Paul and Silas are unfairly imprisoned. They're Roman citizens, which entitles them to a trial, a fair trial, before imprisonment. However, they find themselves beaten and imprisoned with none of the rights afforded to them. In the same way that we feel stuck, not because of something we did, but because of external situations that are outside of our control. Paul and Silas had a lot of right to also be fearful. They don't know what's going to happen to them. They're imprisoned, they're in the deepest dungeon, their feet are shackled together, they can't move, they can't walk. They probably can't even see, it's so dark down there, there's probably no natural light. So I know it's different, and I know I'm not trying to use them to say, look how much better we have it. I don't think that that's the right approach. You can do that if you want, but that kind of ignores the reality of this situation that, yes, sure, our imprisonment is not as bad as Paul and Silas's from a completely objective standpoint. Most of our homes are nicer than the prison, at least I hope so. But that doesn't mean that what we're going through right now isn't a drastic change from our normal lives, and that what we're going through is normal. This is not a normal situation that we're in. And it really can feel like we are in a prison, like we're stuck, like there's no light and no way out. But I wanted to talk about that and really focus on that idea of this fear that is totally normal to feel. It's natural to be worried or anxious in these kinds of times. However, much like Paul and Silas, we have God and Jesus and His Holy Spirit and the peace and the joy that can bring even in these very dark and scary times. So as the story goes on, Paul and Silas begin to sing. They begin to sing songs of joy and thankfulness to God. And they're singing and singing, and there's an earthquake, and the doors of the prison break open, to the point that the guard himself thinks that everybody's escaped, and he's about to take his own life. That's a whole nother story of fear in the situation. And his fear comes from one of the world. He thinks his life is over. And for many of us, we may be feeling that same way. Like I said, the news really wants us to feel that way. The economy is not doing that great. A lot of people are unemployed, lost their jobs, again, through no fault of their own, but because businesses are closed. It's really easy to buy into that thought of life as we know it is over, much like this jailer. But again, unlike him, we have a greater promise, one that's not of this world. And Paul and Silas cry out to this man, and they say, "No, stop, we're still here." And as his story unfolds, he actually is saved. He invites Paul and Silas into his home and feeds them, and then brings them back. They go back to prison before they get released the next day. And he finds Jesus, and that's a wonderful story. But so is Paul and Silas in their reaction. They sing praises to God. They have peace in the storm, not because of anything they've done, not because of any strength that they have. Again, imagine being beaten and chained like they were. You don't feel strong in that situation. I don't, luckily, know from personal experience, but I can very easily imagine. And again, even the situation we're in now, it's easy to feel powerless and weak against this economic, societal, world situation that we're dealing with. But we have to remember that our power doesn't come from ourselves, it doesn't come from our physical body, and it doesn't come from the world around us. It comes from God. It comes from His Holy Spirit in us. And that Spirit gives us joy and peace. These are things that have already been given to us as sons and daughters of Jesus Christ. This is something that Paul and Silas take hold of, and they use it to find joy even in the darkest of times, and what could have been the scariest of times for them, being imprisoned like they were. So I want to encourage us all in this time to be like Paul and Silas, to realize that even though this quarantine may feel like a prison sentence, even though the difficulties that many of us maybe are really dealing with of unemployment and uncertainty about finances and many other things, those are real and real problems. But we can choose how we face them. We can choose where we go to get comfort and to get answers for our problems. And that is Christ. He has given us peace. He has given us strength to make it through these storms. He is greater than these storms. Paul and Silas knew that. They were singing out. And so I want us to do the same. I want to encourage us all to take that time during the day to really be thankful to God. There are many things to be thankful for, even in this time, that we can still go and get food, that there's still food to get. If you were able to stockpile some, that you were able to. Hopefully you've been able to find toilet paper. I mean, that's a real problem too. We're all healthy. Or if you have your health, being thankful. There's a lot to be thankful for, even when it's a dark situation. So turn to God, study His Word, hear from Him, and be thankful to Him. Sing worship to Him. And I know that we're separated, but that doesn't change the fact, because of the world we live in, we're able to talk like this through these videos. We're able to see each other, even though we're apart, through our computers, through our phones. So why not reach out to others and encourage them and let you know that you're there for them emotionally, spiritually, Maybe not physically, and that's okay in this time. While they're in prison, it says in the verses there that even the other prisoners were hearing the songs that Paul and Silas were singing. Again, we may not physically be near people, but people can still see us. We have social media, Facebook, all those other ones, and people can see you and how you're reacting through those. So in that same way, how are we acting there? Are we saying encouraging things to one another, reaching out to one another? Or are we giving in to the fear and the human side of things that wants to pull us away from God? So that's what I want us to focus on and think about in the next couple days. Really reaching out to others and holding on to your peace and joy which God has given to you. No virus, no government, no shutdown, nothing can take that away from you, because if they could, then that means they are greater than God, which they're not. So remember that. Remember the promises that God's made to us. Remember the gifts that He's given us, His joy, His peace, His Spirit. Those don't go away just because times get tough. If anything, those are more present in these times. As He says, through our weakness, He is strong. Because when we are weak, we stop relying on ourselves. We realize that we don't have strength and that we do need to go to God for help. And there He can truly reinforce us. So rest in God's promise. Rest in His peace. Be thankful, even when it feels like there's not that much to be thankful for. And share that spirit with others. Let them hear, because they may not have that same peace that we can. And this is a great opportunity to share that peace with them, especially as we approach Good Friday and Easter Sunday, where God makes the ultimate sacrifice for us. We can really be mindful and remembering of all that He has done and is for us in this time, and share that with others. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.